Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this edition of the Rough 'em Up podcast. It is championship weekend, folks. South Division champs
Yes, sir.
on deck as well. And joining me, as always, is Mr. Roughneck, who is himself at the game in Arlington, Cullen Watkins. How you doing today, sir?
I am doing great after it was a travel weekend, having to go from Houston to Arlington. But hey, I got to see a Roughnecks W in Arlington in front of Arlington fans. That puts a smile on my face any day of the week.
Always. And so they finish off the season 7-3. Of course, they have the South Division Championship on Saturday. That'll be Saturday evening, and that's 6 o'clock Central Standard Time in Houston at the rig.
Yes, sir.
So make sure everybody is there at the game for that. This is the biggie until the championship, May 13th. And so this game here, this is for one part for all the marbles, at least to represent the South. I know a lot of people in the XFL community don't believe in the South because of the records that they have. But hey, at the end of the day, two teams are there, and two teams will be facing off for a chance to play in San Antonio. And let's get right into it, man. I know this week, no Brandon Silvers. And granted, that's probably a good thing for this week. So we got a chance to see a bit of Cole McDonald and Caleb Ellaby. He got his first action this go around, and he looked he looked okay. For getting some time and looking at potentially the future of him, returning as an XFL quarterback.
I'll tell you what. So of course, Cole McDonald played whatever. But Caleb Ellaby, because of course I went to the game, as Arlington mentioned for everyone watching. When I was watching Caleb Ellaby in that pocket, I saw glimpses of a potentially PJ Walker type player. The way his pocket presence, his height, his ability to move out of the pocket, his throws reminded me a lot of a guy who could one day become a PJ Walker type player. So I had a blast watching Caleb play. He did that one completion. I forget who it was to, but it was on the dot of a throw. It was a beautiful throw. So I was actually hoping that he got a little bit more playing time, but McDonald, again, 120 yards, no touchdowns, one interception. Again, like we've been saying the whole year, you can agree with me on this, Arlington. A lot of McDonald's interceptions have been bad interceptions. They have just been throws that he should not have been making. So that's what it was against Arlington. It was a horrible interception. But he did get one rushing touchdown, so it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. But now Arlington, Jeremy Cox, running back. What are your thoughts about him?
Hey, man, that's a good sign for, again, you always, especially in final games, you're going to be looking for players that's going to, will make a return for next season. And if Jeremy Cox remains with this Roughnecks team, he's going to be a force. Didn't have a lot of, chances during the season, but in this game, he showed out when he needed to. 21 carries, 120 yards, and a touchdown. And what's crazy is he's the only player on the Roughnecks to rush for 100 yards this season. So that's pretty impressive. You coming in, and granted, like I said, it wasn't a lot to play for, but at the same time, he was going to go out and ball out, like our owner, The Rock, says. And he did exactly that, 120 for the game, 21 carries. So that looks promising going in. Not only if they keep him for the playoff run, but also definitely for next season if he wants to make a return.
Yes, and he got a long touchdown run called back too because of holding. So that stat line would have been even better. He was really fun to watch. I actually met him at a meet and greet. I think it was like a week and a half ago. Really nice guy. But he was fun to watch, and I agree with you. For next season, woo, I'm
You gotta
excited
watch out,
because
man. You gotta watch out.
he's a strong runner. He's a strong runner. And, we have our two guys in this offense, Max Borgi and Bryson Allen, our 1-2 punch when it comes to the running game. Arlington, I don't know what I'm going to think about this. Do we see Jeremy Cox in the playoffs? Do we? Because he's clearly an impact runner.
Mm-hmm.
Do we see him get some touches, especially in this game against Arlington, that we know what he can do? We know what he can do against Arlington. I don't know what I'm thinking.
I will
You
say
go
at
either
this
way.
rate, you will have 3, maybe 4 running backs you can bring into the mix for this game. I would love to see what Jeremy Cox can do in a playoff setting.
Mm-hmm.
This time it will be in Arlington. Granted, the first time that these two teams faced off against each other was a bit more of a battle than it was this go around in week 10. And but what I got from Renegade fans was that they didn't show their hand this week. And Perez, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, Perez played the entire game.
Oh, come
Kelly
on.
Bryant got some snaps. Granted, Kelly Bryant is a guy that you're going to have to look for seeing in this game. And they're playing them a third time, and then they're playing back-to-back weeks. So I think the competitive level can be a bit better, but at the end of the day, it's going to be Houston getting into San Antonio.
Yes. And normally I wouldn't say that about my favorite team. I'm very superstitious, so I never say that about my favorite team. But, with Arlington fans, I was thinking about this the whole game. I've been waiting to talk about it. Arlington fans, we didn't show our hand. We didn't show our hand. Sure, Davion Smith didn't play, whatever. Okay, so what? We still saw the Arlington Renegades that we've seen the whole year. It's Luis Perez, little passes for the first down, if they're lucky. The big play is not there. They don't score because of that. That's what happened against Houston. We saw a typical Luis Perez Arlington offense. And talk about not showing their hand. What did Houston just do? We didn't have our starting quarterback play the whole game. Arlington doesn't know what we're bringing to the rig. They don't know. So who really did show their hand and who didn't, Or Deontay Burnett, he did not play. None of our wide receivers really got anything with Cole McDonald behind there. Our 2 running backs, they got rest. We're looking very, very good. I'm not worried about Arlington one bit. And sure, their defense with Payne, he's out. We talked about it last podcast. He's out. That's a huge blow to their defense. It's going to take a miracle for Bob Stoops to win this game. And I'm sure you can agree with me on that.
Absolutely. I think that this is a tall task. And granted, I'm ready to hear from all of the naysayers because they're going to say it. That Arlington should have never been in there in the first place. But listen, they got there. Because my heart really, even as a guy covering the Roughnecks, my heart goes to Parker Romo. In that game against the DC Defenders. Yeah, because he had an opportunity to get them into the playoffs because Houston helped them.
Mm-hmm.
Houston helped them a lot getting a win against them, and San Antonio would be playing against them instead. And the reason why that is important is because if you watch the end of the game, Parker Romo, and I have to throw that in because they're part of the division, Parker Romo made the 53-yard field goal the first time, but they called timeout.
Iced.
Call timeout first. And if you looked at his face, and maybe I'm tripping, and that's fine if I am. But he looked very confident that he was going to hit that again, like that second kick. And then the next kick, it goes wide right, and you could have seen like his whole demeanor change, and it gave me. And you probably were too young for this, Colin, but it gave me Mike Vanderjagt vibes from 2005 in the AFC title game when he kicked it wide right, and you just see Peyton Manning move his lips saying he missed it. That's what it brought. It literally brought that to the table. And I'm sitting back, and my eyes got completely big when he missed that kick. Cause I'm like, he made the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And he made the second one, man. It was wild. Just wild. I just could not believe it. I couldn't even fathom the fact.
It was his second miss of the year.
And it was the biggest miss. See? And that was Mike Vanderjagt. Mike Vanderjagt was the coolest and craziest and best kicker in the league. He had one kick to make to get to the Super Bowl, and he missed. You had one kick to make to potentially get into the playoffs, and you missed. So, yeah, my heart goes out to Parker Romo, man, because that was – I couldn't believe it. And then at the time, that would have dropped DC to 8-2 for the season. So, but that also goes to show you that they're beatable. So if Houston, as you hear me saying this out loud to you guys that are watching this podcast, when Houston makes it to the championship game, there's a great chance that they can knock off the DC Defenders if the DC Defenders make the championship game.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there in itself is letting you know Houston pretty much got this in the bag. Like, now don't blow it. Now that we said it and brought this to the forefront. But Wade Phillips is they're ready. And AJ Smith is poised to help him put together the offense, and it would be so great to see Jonte Kirkland come back, but that injury is putting him out on the shelf for the entire season. So, but I think they've been making the adjustments, and they should be fine going into this game against Arlington.
Mm-hmm. And granted that it wasn't really the most competitive game because there's nothing on the line. Our defense, I thought they played great. One of the best games, only holding them to 9 points. That's really all you want. That's great news, actually, when you're heading into the playoff game against the same team. That's great news.
A lot of, and I go back to what I said, that they play their cards. Like, were they really playing to win in that game, or they're just playing because they know they're going to face them again, but this time in hostile territory? To me, I'm like, you try to play to win because that's $1,000 bonus check that comes into to account. So you play hard no matter what. But at the same time, there's like they kind of knew what they were going to be at, and they're going to be playing in the playoff game that a lot of people feel like they don't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
So, but they're there. And you can't get mad at the fact that the talent in the North just happened to supersede what happened in the South.
Just happened.
It just happened.
Yeah. Nothing anybody can do about it. The league didn't know.
Right. And from what we've seen from a defensive standpoint, holding a team under 50 yards rushing is always impressive. And that's what Houston did against Arlington. And they were able to manage Luis Perez where he couldn't get into the end zone. That is the defense that we want to see when we get into this championship game. And folks, get the tickets for this game.
This is the game. This is it.
Yeah. This is the last time you'll see Houston in Houston. So you definitely want to make it known, come out, show out, and give Arlington Renegades hell when it comes to the crowd noise. Like, they can't hear. That's been amazing for some of these crowds during the XFL season. Like, even the crowds that have been 10 to 15,000 have all been electric. So Let's get that same energy together and win with this South Division championship.
Because I'm going to tell you, when Arlington, if they're playing at home, they're not used to a lot of crowd noise. I'll tell you that. I had some Arlington fans when I was there try to, waving the Renegades towels in my face, and when I was walking up the stairs, who's undefeated in the South? Who's undefeated? Huh? But I agree with everything you're saying, Arlington. Really pack the rig. It's a playoff football. It's playoff football. It's gonna be fun. I hate to say it, but I'm nervous about Brandon Silvers, though. I am very nervous because if our running game doesn't work, the passing game is going to be very relied on. And these past few weeks, we have not seen the best passing attack, but hopefully you think with a week of rest, that may help him a bit with the injury. Or I don't know what to think about.
We're hoping because the main thing is the last 2 weeks you've had to establish the rushing attack, and you got a bonus with this Jeremy Cox fella.
Yes.
Got a bonus like you didn't expect it. He came out and he showed out. So that means you can have a balanced attack here against Arlington.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Make sure that it is balanced though. If short passes work, get the run in. If you're getting positive yardage, if you're getting anything over 5 yards, it's a plus. Because a lot of times we look at 4. And in an XFL league, you look at 4 down territory more than you look at 3 downs.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the key figure here is what's going to, work on the offensive end for this Houston Roughnecks ball club, man. Like, you got to make sure that when you have your rushing attack, you got at least 3 guys ready to go if need be.
You have a new 3-headed monster, and I really, really hope it's balanced because that's how we've been winning these games, the balanced attack. As much as this team has tried to pride themselves on being an air raid offense, attack the air, okay, yeah, it's worked. But I don't think it's worked well enough where that's your bread and butter. It's been clear that this running game still needs to be implemented a lot to help supplement the passing game. I was looking at 2020 stats. If you had a guy like PJ Walker, 15 touchdowns in 5 games, okay, go with the passing attack. It's clear that it works. Cam Phillips, 9 touchdowns in 5 games. That's more touchdowns than any Roughnecks wide receiver in 10 games. That attack would work. But with this attack, you got to go with the running game. You got to. And I think this coaching staff is smart enough to know that. I think they are. I hope they are.
But I know they want to make sure Brandon gets his snaps. They want to make sure he's able to get his throws. And you mentioned about the air raid attack. I think my thing is losing Jonte Kirkland is kind of the reason we lost out on the air raid attack.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Because Jonte was going after the deep ball. He can make the plays, and that's what hurts at this point. And you notice that Bird and Burnett are not really those type of guys. They're more slant routes. They're more curls, or definitely coming across the middle and getting yards that way. Whereas with Kirkland, he looks for it in the air to come to him that way, or out routes. That was his type of game. And so losing that kind of made not just AJ Smith, but Brandon Silvers conservative when it came to the passing game.
That is a really good point because I know I didn't think about it, but you notice things sort of did change. The offense changed as soon as we lost Kirkland. And this is another thing too. I was thinking about, or I was looking at the regular season leaders on the team when it came to interceptions, receptions, whatever. Travell Harris, he had himself a solid year. We have not given him enough credit. I believe he leads the team in yards. Correct me if I'm wrong, but shout out to him. We don't really talk about him too much, but shout out to him. I believe he led the team with 382 receiving yards. So shout out to him. I give him credit. He's always gone under the radar a little bit for me, but playmaker.
I guess the way I'm looking at it, we didn't have, like the air raid attack is, seeing him. But like you said, he had a solid year where he came in when needed, got 380 yards. Got a couple of touchdowns to go with that, and Burnett right behind him at 378. So that is a plus because there was a balance, but it was a lot of dunks, and then making them curls and going across the middle to make it work for them. So we'll see what happens when we get to this championship game when it comes to those receivers.
I know. I think I'm really curious. We're all curious on the game plan. But, to sum pretty much this whole podcast up, I think going into the championship game, we couldn't be feeling any more confident than the game we just had. The 3-game winning streak, am I correct? We won the last 3 games? That's all you can ask for when you're going into a championship playoff game. Or a playoff championship, like South Division championship. That's all you can ask for. That's all you can,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's what I'm looking forward to see come Saturday.
Mm-hmm. And then you have the North. For those who either don't know or want to be reminded, you have Seattle versus DC. That should be a fun one. I can't wait for that one. That will be the Sunday after the day after our South Division championship game. And we're not going to talk about who we want to play just yet. We could, but let's hold off on that. Let's hold off on that. We don't want to do that just yet. But yeah, make sure you fill up this place come Saturday. If you haven't been to a game all year, this is your sign to go to one now because it doesn't get any better than this. The next time the Roughnecks will play in Houston, it'll be 2024. Go.
Right.
Do it.
Exactly. This is the time, and playoff football is in Houston. Don't get it often, so hey, you need to seize the opportunity. Carpe diem. Make sure that you go and do that. Go to the rig, get your tickets, because it should be a good one. Hopefully the weather, like if you notice, the weather in Houston lately has been a lot cooler than it's been in recent years, recent months, and so I'm hoping that holds up where it's about beautiful 70 degrees and we can get good playoff weather, that everybody will come out and they'll enjoy themselves, and you can bring in a big crowd such as 20, 25,000, 30,000 fans. Come on through.
Oh, that would be beautiful.
This is the time.
That'd be beautiful.
I want it to the point where they open up the top, and I want to see some people, in the press box, you're looking up and you see
those are people above. Just like when PJ was playing. We need that.
Hey, bring the crowds in, man. This is the time, and everybody should get involved with this because you don't get to see playoff football often. However, Roughneck fans, if you haven't done it, there's been a scavenger hunt going on with Houston Roughnecks. Hey, and they're looking for finding like little sites and stuff around Houston, and you could win 4 tickets to the South Division championship game. So they want you to be a part of this.
Free tickets to a playoff game? I don't think the NFL does that for a lot of people.
They don't. So I'm like, this is amazing. Like, you want to make sure you get in on this because that you could be a winner, and we could see you at the championship game, hopefully.
And for all my Texans fans out there, since I'm sure a lot of people, if you're a Roughnecks fan, you're probably following the Texans. Don't be scared. The Chiefs aren't playing. We won't have to deal with the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs. This is a different league, so we don't have to worry about Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, no. I just realized something. So this is the same weekend the Astros come back to town, right? You want to know who their opponent is this weekend?
Who?
Their 2022 World Series opponent. It's the Phillies.
Rematch.
So
a big week in Houston.
I big crowds for that night. And I'm like, but hey, listen. Oh, and the game. So that game is at 4:10. So listen, Roughneck fans, after the game,
you know where to go.
Come on over. The team comes to the rig. And hey, let's make it even a greater sports weekend on Saturday. All right. Let's make it huge. Okay.
That's crazy.
A huge sports day on Saturday. So after the game, afternoon game against the Phillies, come on through to the rig.
And because Houston, we're close to another championship. We got the World Series.
Come on now, right?
Let's get another.
We can add an XFL title to the mix. Come on, man.
Sir.
This
That's
is your
crazy. The odds of them lining up like that.
More history. That's what this is about, man. It's a story. Come on. Come on through. And I already know that the Sunday game is going to be Sunday nighter. So,
So
that's an ESPN game. That's already been proven. So, but come on through to the rig Saturday. Like I said, it's a big sports day.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the draft is going down to in some other league, but we need
whoever they are.
We need you guys to come on Saturday to the rig for this big South Division championship, and so you can watch them hoist it up, and that way they can be ready for San Antonio in 2 weeks.
Go on to San Antonio. I live for moments like this. We all live for moments like this. This is what being a Houston sports fan is all about. Championship season, playoff season.
I'm learning that real quick.
We love the playoffs here.
It's real in these streets when it comes to sports in this town, man. So I've noticed that full-fledged, man, and I've enjoyed that since I've been here. And to be a part of covering a playoff team, oh man, it's exciting.
It's awesome, especially since from the start, we've been watching this team's journey and stuff. So, and I guess it's a great way to segue into, this conclusion here. Make sure y'all like and follow, make sure you subscribe, because next season, we got y'all covered. We're dedicated to this off season. We're going to try to get stuff out and, of course, make some adjustments and stuff, some improvements after all this school stuff is over and I can focus on what I want to focus on. No, stay in school, kids. But anyways.
Stay in school. Hey, we got at least one more show left.
At least one more show. Yes, we do. So anyways, thank you so much for watching. Arlington, thank you so much for joining me once again. And, hey, we'll see y'all Saturday. We better see y'all.
Right.
If you see us, say hi. All right, we want to see some of y'all. So, Arlington, close us out here.
Thanks for everybody tuning into the Rough 'em Up podcast this week. Hey, we got at least one more show. Hopefully, we'll be talking championship next week. All right, so join us again every Thursday for the Rough 'em Up podcast. You make sure you join us on our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Twitter at REU. Hey, where did I go?
Where'd he go? Where'd Arlington go? There he is.
Make sure you join us at REU podcast on Twitter too. All right. So for just a little while, rough them up. Go Roughnecks.
We'll see y'all next time. Rough them up, baby. Woo!